You've seen the headlines. Psychology says, according to science, studies show they slide into your feed like facts, wrapped in soft colors, maybe paired with a photo of a couple holding hands, or someone staring wistfully out a window. They promise clarity, validation, insight into why you feel what you feel, why they left, why you can't stop thinking about them, or why someone you barely remember showed up in your dream. It feels scientific, grounded, as if human behavior, your pain, your habits, your patterns, can be summed up in a single sentence, easy to share and easier to believe. You trust someone after a 30-second hug. If someone is always angry at you, stay calm. They'll feel ashamed. You only remember 3 or 4 things at a time. Men fall in love faster than women. No context, no nuance, just statements that sound like truth. And people believe them. Not because they're dumb, but because they're tired. Tired of complexity, tired of guessing, tired of asking why and getting silence. These bite-sized insights fill a gap. They offer answers in a world that rarely gives them. And for a moment, they feel good, familiar, neat. You read one, nod, and think, yeah, that tracks, but then what? What happens when your real-life experiences don't match the rule? When your girlfriend doesn't smile 60 times a day? When the man who doesn't get upset actually loves you more than anyone? When no one is staring at you at 3 a.m., but you're still awake and alone and anxious? Do you doubt the fact? Or yourself? That's the trap. Because these aren't facts. They're scripts. Written not to help you think, but to make you stop thinking. And if you don't slow down, if you don't question the source, the tone, the agenda, you'll start confusing viral advice with real knowledge, real understanding, real tools. This isn't about debunking every meme. It's about something deeper, the slow erosion of clarity. The way popular psychology, dressed up as truth, reshapes how you see yourself and how you let others treat you. That's the real danger. Not the claim, but the comfort it gives. And comfort, when untethered from truth, is a weapon. Quiet, smooth, and hard to detect. Let's look closer. The hunger to explain human behavior isn't new. We've been trying to decode ourselves for centuries, through religion, myth, philosophy, and eventually, science. But psychology, as a formal discipline, is still young. Barely over 100 years old, and in that short time, it's been pulled in every direction. Clinical, experimental, behavioral, cognitive, evolutionary. Always trying to prove itself. Always trying to be taken seriously. Somewhere along the way, that pressure bled into the public space. Freud made psychology mysterious. Pavlov made it mechanical. Skinner made it measurable. And pop culture made it digestible. What began as an attempt to understand the self became a market for shortcuts. And like most markets, it started selling what people wanted to hear, not what they needed to confront. Look at the arc. The self-help boom of the 70s, the emotional intelligence wave of the 90s, the rise of TED Talks, listicles, personality quizzes, and now social media reels that condense profound insight into 10 seconds. The shift wasn't just in speed, it was in substance. Psychology stopped being a tool for inquiry and became a product of convenience. What once demanded introspection now trades in reassurance. You don't have to sit with your patterns. Just read that. It only takes 4 minutes to know if you like someone. And you're off the hook. No more uncertainty. No more nuance. The illusion of knowledge replaces the discomfort of learning. It's not entirely accidental. The platforms that carry these messages are engineered for engagement, not depth. They reward content that confirms your bias, matches your mood, and fits in the space between boredom and distraction. Real psychological work is slow. It requires discomfort, contradiction, and a long attention span, none of which convert well. Philosophically, we've been warned. Plato argued that people confuse shadows on the wall for reality. Nietzsche warned of truths that become lies when stripped of context. McLuhan showed us that the medium is the message, and when the medium is Instagram, the message is speed, simplicity, and surface. So when you see psychology says the question isn't just, is this true? The better question is, who benefits if I believe this without thinking? Because in a world where information is currency, belief isn't free. Someone is always profiting from your certainty. That's the backdrop. Now let's examine the surface, what people think this topic is before we go underneath. At the surface, these psychology facts seem harmless, entertaining, even helpful. They show up in videos, slideshows, and quote graphics. You scroll past them in the middle of your day, and they slide into your brain quietly. No resistance, no demand, just a line that sounds smart. That sounds like it knows something about you. And that's the hook. These statements aren't offering you truth. They're offering familiarity. The idea that human behavior, yours, theirs, everyone's, can be reduced to a clean, relatable sentence. If someone's always in your mind, it means you're in theirs. Men with strong jaws are more attractive to women. Girls are more stubborn than boys because of emotion. These aren't insights, they're narratives. Prepackaged identities, delivered like advice, but operating more like scripts. They tap into things you want to believe. That someone missing you is the reason they appeared in your dream. That ignoring someone will make them want you more. That women smile more because they're more emotional. These facts don't explain reality. They reinforce personal stories. Stories where you're wanted, special, misunderstood, or secretly powerful. They also tap into gender tropes. Men fall faster. Women love deeper. Boys are logical. Girls are emotional. It feels like psychology, but it's just recycled mythology, now with a lab coat. These generalizations flatten human behavior into something digestible, but in doing so, they strip away complexity. And complexity is where the truth lives. The surface sells simplicity, but real psychology isn't simple. It doesn't make bold claims about how many seconds it takes to fall in love, or whether eye contact syncs heartbeats. It doesn't tell you how people feel based on their breathing. It doesn't suggest that being ignored is a reliable path to connection. Yet these ideas spread fast because they feel good. They feel empowering. They promise control. If you just say this, act that way, ignore this person, text at the right time, then people will want you, love you, understand you. It's behaviorism rewritten as social magic. But you already know this, don't you? You've tried it. You've followed the rules. You've mimicked the signs of confidence, tested the timing, believed the studies, and sometimes it worked. But often it didn't. Because people aren't math, emotions aren't script, and your relationships don't operate on algorithms. So why does this stuff keep working? Why do millions still consume it, share it, trust it? Because the surface isn't designed to inform you. It's designed to soothe you, and comfort is a strong currency, especially when the truth is complicated. Let's go deeper. If the surface is built on soothing phrases, the structure beneath it runs on something colder. Influence. These aren't just facts passed around for fun. They're part of a larger system built to shape perception, drive behavior, and quietly control how you interpret your own mind. Here's how it works. First, authority is faked. Every line starts with psychologists say or studies show. No source, no study, just the tone of expertise. It mimics the language of science to bypass your skepticism. You don't question it because it sounds official. The statement doesn't need to be true, it just needs to feel researched. Second, identity is reinforced. Most of these facts align with the narratives people already believe about themselves. That women are more emotional, that men don't talk about feelings, that people are attracted to confidence, that you should stay calm when someone lashes out at you. These aren't discoveries, they're stereotypes with a diploma. Third, certainty is sold. Uncertainty makes people anxious. Real psychology often says it depends, but that doesn't sell. What sells are one-liners that claim 90% of people do this, or that if you do, X, Y will happen. It gives you the illusion of control. But control over what? Your behavior? Theirs? Your relationships? In truth, none of it. You're just trading doubt for comfort and calling it science. Fourth, attention is monetized. These posts, videos, and facts don't exist in a vacuum. They're optimized for clicks, shares, and comments. The more emotionally charged the message, the more engagement it gets. A claim like someone dreaming about you means they miss you doesn't educate. It gets shared. And every share is currency. Fifth, behavior is engineered. Some of these tips are behavioral nudges. Smile more. Make eye contact. Use someone's name in conversation. Sounds harmless. But in mass over time, this starts to teach you that everything from love to memory to power, can be hacked, manipulated, controlled, not understood, trolled. This is where it gets dangerous. Because when people believe they can script human behavior, they stop listening. They stop asking questions. They stop treating people like people. And they start performing, chasing outcomes, testing tricks, running social scripts instead of forming real connections. The structure beneath pop psychology isn't built to help you understand the human mind. It's built to help platforms, influencers, and marketers shape it. What you see on the surface feels like truth, but it's architecture. A system of language, trust, repetition, and emotional targeting designed to make you feel informed without ever making you think. And it works until something breaks. A relationship fails. A person you understood suddenly becomes a stranger. A strategy you trusted leaves you hurt. That's when you realize you weren't operating on knowledge. You were following a script written by someone who never knew you to begin with. But even then, most people don't break free. Let's talk about why. People don't let go of ideas just because they're wrong, especially when those ideas offer emotional rewards. That's the resistance. Not ignorance, not stupidity, just quiet, everyday self-protection. You believe what makes you feel safe, even if it's false. Take the average person scrolling past a post that says, "If someone ignores you, they care." It feels good. It explains away rejection. It gives hope. Letting go of that means facing the possibility that someone you care about might simply not care back. That's not just painful, it's disorienting. And your mind, like anyone else's, hates disorientation. So it resists. This is called motivated reasoning. You don't evaluate information neutrally. You defend what you want to believe. You hold on to ideas that serve your ego, your fears, your self-image. And the more emotionally loaded the topic, love, trust, self-worth, the stronger that grip becomes. Cultural reinforcement adds another layer. Many of these facts align with dominant cultural myths. Men don't cry. Women are more emotional. True love lasts forever. If it's repeated enough, it becomes background noise. You don't question it because no one around you is questioning it either. That's how collective illusions form. Not through deception, but through repetition. Then there's the problem of emotional efficiency. Life is complicated. Most people don't have the time or mental energy to sift through academic journals and behavioral science papers, so they rely on shortcuts, memes, quotes, sound bites, and that works fine until it doesn't. Till those shortcuts start shaping how they interpret real people, real situations, real pain. And when the pop psych scripts fail, people rarely blame the script. They blame themselves. If this is what psychology says and I still feel lost, then maybe I'm the problem. That's the quiet damage. It doesn't just mislead. It erodes confidence in your own perception. It replaces introspection with self-doubt. And you don't even notice it's happening. That's the resistance. Not a wall, but a comfort zone. Reinforced by emotion, normalized by culture, and powered by the need to avoid pain. You don't question the narrative because questioning it would force you to sit in uncertainty. And uncertainty is harder to bear than a false sense of clarity. But if you never sit in that space, if you never pause, interrogate, resist back, you'll keep trading your awareness for approval. And every time you do, the script tightens. Now let's step into that space. The discomfort, the clarity, the quiet shift. Here's where things change. Not with outrage, but with awareness. Not by rejecting every pop psych idea, but by learning to see it for what it is, for what it's doing, quietly, consistently. The truth is, a lot of these so-called facts aren't just wrong. They're misaligned with how actual psychology works. Real psychological insight doesn't hand you certainty. It gives you frameworks, possibilities. It helps you ask better questions, not memorize better answers. That's the shift from accepting to observing, from assuming to testing. You stop asking, what does this quote say about people? And start asking, what does it say about the person who wrote it? About the culture that shares it? About the need it's filling in me right now? Because that's the deeper layer. These quotes aren't really about behavior. They're about desire, control, power, safety. They speak to loneliness, to the need to feel seen, to matter, to believe that someone, somewhere, is thinking about you at 3 a.m. that love is predictable, that rejection has meaning, that your confusion can be explained with a line of text and a good font. And when you see that, really see it, the spell starts to break. You stop needing every statement to be true. You start recognizing patterns, you start asking better questions. Not just, is this real, but why do I want it to be? You also become more careful with your own thinking. You realize how easy it is to mistake emotion for evidence, to treat attention as truth, to look for validation instead of understanding. And you don't have to punish yourself for that, but you also don't have to stay there. The quiet shift is internal, not a revolt, a reorientation. You stop scanning for answers and start paying attention to your reactions. Why did that fact feel comforting? Why did that other one feel threatening? What part of you is being targeted? What part is being bypassed? This is where awareness begins, not with knowing the right fact, but with knowing why you believe it. From here, we can go even deeper, to the rule underneath all of this, the thing no one says but everything obeys, the unspoken agreement behind how this system survives. Let's name it. Here it is. The entire system, every viral quote, every fake statistic, every feel-good fact runs on one quiet rule. People won't check. That's it. Not because they're lazy, but because they're human. Because people are busy, tired, overwhelmed. Because nuance takes effort and trust takes time. Because the feeling of knowing, even if it's wrong, is more satisfying than sitting in uncertainty. And everyone building content in this space knows that. The influencers, the engagement farmers, the brand accounts dressing marketing as insight, they all rely on the same assumption, that the average person won't pause, won't dig, won't question the source. So they keep pushing the content, polished, optimized, unverified, and it spreads. Because it feels like insight. It feels like guidance. But under the surface, it's just another feedback loop. You read the line, it matches your mood, you share it. Then someone else does the same. The idea gains momentum, not because it's true, but because it was easy. This is how belief systems spread, not through evidence, through repetition, through emotional alignment, through the silence that follows false certainty. And if you look closely, you'll notice something darker. The most viral facts don't challenge power. They don't disrupt anything. They reinforce the status quo. They teach you to conform, to accept, to adjust your behavior to be more desirable, more predictable, more palatable. They don't say, understand yourself. They say, optimize yourself. You start managing your emotions like a brand manages its image. You stop asking, what do I feel? And start asking, what should I feel to attract someone? You stop exploring your mind and start performing it. Because that's the unspoken rule underneath all of it. Don't think too hard. Just feel the right thing, at the right time, in the right way. And if you do that, you'll be fine. Loved, seen, accepted. Until you're not. Till it breaks. Till the mask slips, the script fails, and the people who told you how to act have nothing real to offer when the pain gets real. That's the part they never write in the caption. So what now? Let's talk about what to actually do. How to see this clearly, hold it, and move differently. You don't need to throw out every piece of advice you've ever read. You just need to stop mistaking it for truth. That's the starting point. From here, the shift is practical, behavioral, quiet. It's not about fighting pop psychology, it's about outgrowing it. That starts with one habit: slow down your agreement. When something sounds true, pause. Ask yourself, do I want this to be true or do I know it is? Where did this idea come from? What does it ask me to believe about myself or others? What happens if it's wrong? You don't need a PhD, you just need the habit of asking. Because once you build that reflex, the fog starts to lift. Next, get used to uncertainty. Most real psychological insight lives in the gray. If something tells you 80% of people who wake up at 3 a.m. are being stared at, that's not a fact. That's bait. Real science talks about likelihood, correlation, context, not magic numbers and viral mystery. Don't chase hacks, chase patterns. Instead of asking, what's the trick to being liked? Ask, what behavior do I repeat in conversations that shuts people down? Instead of believing that ignoring someone makes them want you, ask, why am I drawn to relationships built on emotional withholding? Start journaling, not your day, but your triggers. What content hooks you? What fact makes you feel validated? What makes you feel dismissed? That's the map. You're not just learning about the world, you're learning where your vulnerabilities are being touched and why. Cut your reliance on psychology-flavored content. Start reading actual psychology. Books, research summaries, long-form interviews with real practitioners. It won't feel as exciting, but it'll give you something better. Tools that actually help when life doesn't match the script. Practice saying, "I don't know," out loud, in your head. It's one of the most powerful mental resets available. When you stop rushing to label behavior, you start observing it. That's where understanding begins. And finally, watch your language. The words you repeat shape how you see. If you keep saying, "I'm always overthinking," that becomes identity, not observation. If you keep saying, "People leave because I'm too much," that's not reflection. That's a conclusion dressed as truth. Start catching yourself. Interrupt the script. You're not here to memorize facts. You're here to notice patterns, ask real questions, and build enough mental clarity that you don't need a quote to tell you who you are. That's the shift. And it's yours to make. Quietly. Without permission. Without applause. Now let's close this out. One final breath. No pitch. Just clarity. Here's the part no one tells you. Most of what passes for psychology in public spaces isn't about the mind. It's about comfort, control, marketing, validation. It's about giving you the illusion of insight while keeping you dependent on someone else's voice to understand your own. You don't need that. You were never meant to run your life off a script written for virality. Your thoughts, your patterns, your pain, they're not bugs in the system. They're signals, clues, and they deserve more than a catchy caption. Real understanding costs something. Time, discomfort, attention. But it pays you back in something better. Awareness that isn't for sale. So the next time you see a claim that begins with "psychology says," stop. Ask yourself one thing. Who benefits if I believe this without thinking? Then decide if you still want to.